And welcome back to the Hot Lap. It is time for the Bahrain Grand Prix preview. Many questions. Can Max Verstappen carry on his winning ways? What will happen to McLaren? And is the Oscar and the Lando fight gonna destroy any chance they have of the Drivers' Championship? But also, what on earth is gonna happen to Lewis Hamilton? Hoping that Ferrari have a better car in Bahrain. Let's get into it. So it's officially race week. Yes, again, this is the middle of the 3 race weekends we have. Obviously, it started off with Japan, then to Bahrain, and ending at Saudi Arabia on Easter Sunday, no doubt. And then we have a nice couple of weeks. I think a well-earned rest, especially if they're all going to be like Japan. But Bahrain is a lot of a different circuit. We'll get into that in a bit. Pray tell, it definitely is a different circuit. There will be overtaking there. I'm having my fingers crossed. I'm an eternal optimist, but I think there's a very good bet. If Bahrain produces a really dull race because of no overtaking, we are in big trouble this year for the championship. And so this is the Pirelli preview with Bahrain knowledge. So we're looking at obviously hard, medium, and soft, the C1, C2, and the C3. And the circuit, I mean, 57 laps, 308 in terms of kilometres distance. The lap record by Pedro de la Rosa, it still holds. Will it go this year? 2005 in a McLaren. Yeah, he was the reserve driver for a certain one, Pablo Montoya. And that was a 131.447. Tyre stress is about 3 out of 5. I expect the tyres are going to wear more than they do in Japan, maybe opening up different kinds of strategy. Downforce is a halfway point, but the abrasion for the asphalt, they're saying, is a 5 out of 5. Track evolution, a 4 out of 5, and traction, a 4 out of 5. So there will surely be some wear in Bahrain, meaning that unlike Japan, unless it's rained, and to be fair, it rained a bit in testing, but we're going to get big track evolution, and the undercut is actually going to mean something. And a few other stats before we get into the actual track itself. 21 races in Bahrain. We've seen 10 different winners, 11 different pole sitters, and 20 podium finishers. And that's we'll get into a few more stats as well, but let's have a look then. Let's have a look at that track, shall we? So, the track, the Bahrain track. Let's go for our track guide. At this point, I just need to click the track guide. That's gonna most certainly help. And here we go. I am gonna hopefully make the camera disappear as we now go down the start-finish straight. And this is going to be the main overtaking point. Yes, there's going to be DRS here into the first corner, which is like a right-left chicane. Now, what's interesting is, yes, you can pass here, but also the other guy can very much give it alongside you or get right into you and have, potentially even have the DRS. This is another passing corner. It's going to be a bit harder now. Now we're into the tricky middle section. It's I'm not saying it's Mickey Mouse, but we've got medium to slow speed turns. We've got 2 very tight turns coming up this right-hander here, where we don't really see much overtaking. But if you remember from 2020, I believe 2022, where it was Fernando Alonso really overtook Lewis Hamilton and did an absolutely massive number. It was either 22 or 23. But here we go now into the second DRS zone. We don't normally see overtaking here. And then we're into it's quite a fast left-hander, so you really have to be alongside someone to go here. And once again, it's going to be interesting to see this year how hard it is to follow in these quite, medium to high speed corners. This one not so much, as we're now on, kind of like the last big straight. You can see passing here, but let's be fair, if you're within a second of someone, you're going to really want to stay behind them, because now we enter the last corner and we're going to enter the DRS zone again, and we get to do this 50 something times. I'll definitely let you know how many times indeed we will get to do this. But this is the Bahrain Grand Prix. We will see some action here. I'm absolutely positive. Even if the pole guy goes, there's definitely going to be action in that midfield. Sometimes we get 3-4 cars abreast here. So by absolutely all means, it is most certainly not boring at all. So let's just bring me back in the camera. Hello there. So a few of the track stats then. Let's get into them, shall we? So lights out and away we go. Yeah, we're essentially using the lights out blog. It's a fantastic blog, as I said, 57 laps, 15 turns. The circuit was first opened in 2004. I think Michael Schumacher has the fastest here. I think Michael Schumacher. Race winners, though, as we mentioned, there's been 21. 10 different drivers have won a race. Lewis Hamilton, though, is going to be the most successful driver at this venue, having won a 5th Bahrain Grand Prix in 2021. Ferrari and the team will have the most wins here. They've taken victories on 7 occasions. Mercedes, naturally, like a lot of places, are the most successful manufacturer. Britain and Germany are tied as the nation with the most victories in Bahrain, with their drivers having won at the track 6 times apiece. So we got, let me just get a drink. So we've got Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, Max Verstappen. They're the only drivers to have taken back-to-back wins. Lewis Hamilton is the only driver to win the Bahrain Grand Prix in 3 consecutive seasons, and Mercedes hold the record for the longest streak of wins of a constructor at the Bahrain International Circuit. They've won 3 in a row. That was between 2014 and 2016. There have been 7 occasions when a team has recorded a 1-2. Most recently, I think Red Bull, in 2014 and 2019, and Red Bull finished 1-2 in each of the last 2 seasons. This year, I don't know. 4 drivers on the grid, though, have previously won at the circuit. Obviously, Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Max Verstappen, and Charles Leclerc took his first Bahrain Grid victory in 2022. And I think in 2019, he nearly took his first victory there had it not been for his car going a bit wrong. So the biggest winning margin is in 2024, 22.45 seconds. Quite significant. Nice. But in 2018, the smallest, it was Sebastian Vettel by 0.699. So we've gone from 22 seconds to just under 7/10, which is not bad at all. So let's get into our drivers, shall we? So let's end this highlights of the race which we did. This is the race I did just because it's something to look at. And let's get into our drivers. I think we're going team by team this time. So let's go with the Sauber team: Gabriele Bortoleto and Nico Hülkenberg. And let's be honest, I'm not expecting much from both of them. If they can get off the back row, it's amazing. If they can get out of Q1, it's going to be even better. It is absolutely going to be even better. So let's talk about Jack Doohan. There are some people suggesting with Jack Doohan he may not be racing this weekend in Alpine. Is that because Colapinto will be, or is that because he's suffering something from that massive crash in practice? That I don't know. Stay tuned. I imagine we're most certainly going to know in the next couple of days. But Esteban Ocon in the in the Haas, I think he was, I'm not saying he was convinced, but he was like, don't I have the same car as a certain Ollie Behrman? Because Ollie Behrman did very well. Esteban Ocon was really struggling in China. I don't think he struggled here. Both these drivers know this track really well, and I just realised I completely forgot about Pierre Gasly in the Alpine, who I think could have a solid weekend. Most certainly probably do a bit better than Jack Doohan, albeit it's going to be interesting, and I hope Jack Doohan comes to Bahrain because he knows this track now. He did lots of testing here. So between him, and Lawson and Tsunoda, but particularly him, the rookie, they are going to know this track fairly well with all the hours they pounded around. And speaking of interesting people, we have Liam Lawson. Yeah, I haven't updated it. He's not in the Red Bull. He's in the V carb, and it's going to be an interesting one for Liam, isn't it? At absolute minimum, he's going to have to be up there with Isaac Hadjar. Isaac Hadjar kind of embarrassed him, didn't he? Isaac Hadjar kind of embarrassed Lawson a bit, and Isaac Hadjar scored his first points in China. I fully expect if he gets a sniff of those points, it'll be fantastic. I'll be disappointed if he doesn't get into Q2. I think he will. And then Q3 is going to be a bit of a gamble because it's so competitive there with Isaac Hadjar. One person that's going to be interesting is Lance Stroll. He's had the best start for the season for years, but then in China he started 20th and pretty much finished last. So what's going to happen? I mean, Stroll knows Bahrain. He's finished fairly high up in Bahrain before. But I think this guy, as in Fernando Alonso is under more pressure than Lance Stroll. He hasn't even scored a point yet, I don't think. He came close at the last race, but massively disappointing. And I also think disappointing so far Carlos Sainz. He's under a lot of pressure to perform in Bahrain. He's driven the car here. He knows it really well. They're going to have a really good base setup. But is Carlos Sainz going to be able to beat Alex Albon? Probably not, unless Albon has a problem. This man is absolutely on fire. Now, the same can be said between the two Ferrari teammates in Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. What is going on with Lewis Hamilton? So we know from our Japan Fallout video that there's an issue with the floor. They had to raise the floor up, raise the ride height. There's been some talk, also Lewis Hamilton, so they've noticed something wrong with the car. It's happened. It's been there for 3 races. He believes they can fix it for Bahrain. Bahrain is a circuit he knows. All the circuits he's won at, but he's won at Bahrain quite a few times, so he knows how to win there. I expect him to be quite close to Leclerc, maybe even beat him. I mean, let's be fair, he beat him in China in the sprint race, and that qualified him in qualifying there in China. Because when he came to China, he had a very, very good base setup there, which he worked on. It didn't kind of work, went a bit backwards for the race, and he did start on the hards in Japan. So I felt he did that because he had to, because he was so far back. If Lewis can get within the top 6, I think he'll be I think in the top 3 rows for qualifying, he'll be really happy, in spite of where, unless Leclerc finishes on pole, for example. Leclerc absolutely obliterates him, which I don't think is going to happen. He does seem happier with this car than the Mercedes. And Leclerc, so close getting his first win in 2019, got his first Bahrain win in 2022, beating Max Verstappen, so he knows how to win around here. And there's rumours that both Leclerc and Hamilton have gone in different directions in terms of what they want from the car. So it's going to be interesting to see where that falls out. But one of the cars that's certainly good is this guy here. He's having a fantastic season. First time off the podium in 3 races. Okay. Kimi Antonelli did come behind, go behind him, and had a solid race. Got the fastest lap as well. The youngest man to lead a race, and I think it's going to continue. I think the gap between him and George is ultimately going to close. I don't think he's going to beat George at Bahrain. George is too experienced for that, but let's be fair. At the Bahrain Grand Prix in 2020, when they used the outer circuit, it was George Russell who, let's be honest, really should have won that race, but he didn't do it. So that's going to be quite interesting. So Oscar Piastri, so the big question is about McLaren. Team orders with McLaren. They're not going to be them. We're not going to have that. But Papaya rules, which is as good as team orders, are they really going to be allowed to race? They were in Japan, but it didn't really not much happened. Here it's going to be different because you can follow cars here. You can pass here. There are 2 DRS zones. There will be passing here. So if either of them got pole, it's not necessarily a guarantee. And Oscar Piastri has now learnt to look after those tyres, which is something that Lando Norris was very good at last year and the year before, and that car is good on its tyres. Now, in China, it was a bit cold, I think. In Japan, it was a bit cold. In Australia, it was a bit cold. This could potentially be the first hot race, and as we know, everyone was really impressed with that McLaren race pace, and if they do look after their tyres, well, but surely McLaren are going to be expecting a 1-2. So, Yuki Tsunoda, yes, he's in the Red Bull, not the V-Carb. He did average. He did better than Lawson. Kind of Perez levels when compared to Verstappen. Hopefully that's going to improve. He knows Bahrain really well. Yes, he hasn't used the Red Bull around Bahrain, but he knows the Red Bull car a bit better than he obviously did going into his home race in Japan. But this guy here, I think if Red Bull can go well in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, we're looking good for the rest of the season. Max Verstappen can potentially go for that win, at least finish 3rd. It's looking interesting for the rest of the season. But that's going to be the big question mark, because I think that Mercedes is really good. And that Ferrari, I mean, how improved is Lewis Hamilton going to be and Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari? I'm predicting if they do bring that floor back, I think Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc could potentially be quite dangerous. I mean, they were in China, but they are going to need a chef's kiss. Absolutely perfect setup, aren't they? So let's fingers crossed, hope they most certainly get that. But yeah, in terms of winning it, you can't really go against you can't really go against McLaren, can you? Absolutely you can't. So if I had to guess a winner, I'm going to say I think Lando Norris is going to win. It's a bit boring, but Lando Norris is probably going to win, and I think we're going to have Oscar Piastri being just as close. It's going to be a fight between the two McLarens because of the tyre wear, because of the heat. And I predict Max Verstappen to be very close, but I'm also thinking that the Ferraris and the Mercedes are going to be equal. It's going to be so hard to choose between them. If Ferrari bring that flaw, and I think if Ferrari can absolutely nail it, I reckon they can spring a surprise podium. I'm not sure whether it'll be either Chloe or Hamilton though. Could I be wrong? I don't know. But that's if they bring that new flaw, which is not a guarantee. So there we go. That is our Bahrain Grand Prix preview. If you made it to the end, if you can, please give us a subscribe. But until then, stay safe, speak to you soon, and thank you very much for watching. And you just watching it is more than enough for us. But if you want to do a bit more, hit that like button. That'd be great. Or comment below. Let us know what you think. Let us know who you think is going to win the Bahrain Grand Prix. See you later.